Coming up on Newsline, Thursday, November 5th, 2020.
We still do not have a named president. The latest on who's taking lead is ahead.
Nevada has just close to 200,000 ballots remaining to count.
And Pennsylvania has 93% of their votes counted.
Good evening, everyone. For WRHU Newsline, I'm Derek Futterman.
And I'm Tony Genualdo. We begin tonight's broadcast with the 2020 election. I spoke with Professor Tamika Robinson today to discuss the election thus far. She says that the impact the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the election is affecting the election centers and their effectiveness to count the ballots in a quick manner. She continues in saying that for states like Pennsylvania, it's even more difficult, as mail-in ballots were not as prominent as they were this year. In regards to President Trump's promise to take the election to the Supreme Court, Professor Robinson says that it won't be that easy of a process and that it has to go through the lower courts first.
Today, Vice President Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris were in Wilmington, Delaware, and they reassured voters that the counting process is going well and that they have nothing to worry about as Biden closes in on 270 electoral votes.
Joe Biden has reportedly widened his lead over President Trump in the state of Nevada from about 8,000 votes to 12,000 votes. Nevada is responsible for 6 electoral votes, and about 13% of the state's votes have yet to be counted. Many wonder whether or not Trump will claim Clark County, which is responsible for the most votes in the state. Currently, Biden is ahead of Trump in the county by 8 percentage points. Nevada will reportedly release more results later tonight.
As the results continue to pour in, races are getting tighter in states like Georgia, where approximately 98% of the vote has been tallied. However, today in Georgia, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger called not one but 2 press conferences to assess the state's ballot situation, during which he acknowledged 47,000 votes are still yet to be counted in the state, 17,000 of which are in Chatham County. President Trump currently holds the lead. However, margins grow ever thin.
A group of demonstrators attempted to break into the TCF Center in Detroit, Michigan, in an effort to stop the counting of election ballots. The group of protesters was reportedly summoned by an email sent by the Macomb County GOP, which urged, quote, all hands on deck. Protesters banged on the glass outside of the building, which is operating with a strict capacity limit due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And aside from their chanting, there were no acts of violence that took place. The Associated Press has called the state of Michigan for Joe Biden at this time. However, the state is still in the process of counting absentee and mail-in ballots.
And now an update on the COVID-19 pandemic. As the United States reported over 107,000 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday, New York City has instituted new quarantine rules for travelers. Multiple quarantine checkpoints will be set up near city tunnels, where police will periodically stop vehicles to conduct a random sample to ensure that people are following the rules. The state of New York has instituted a mandatory 14-day quarantine period for all travelers coming from states with high infection rates, something which people can bypass following a negative COVID-19 test 72 hours prior to their arrival in the state. A 3-day quarantine following that, and then another negative test on the 4th day. And across the Hudson River in New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy expressed concern with the latest numbers, saying that they are trending in the wrong direction. The Garden State added Oregon and Washington State to its COVID-19 advisory list, which now contains 43 states classified as disease hotspots, a new high.
The Suffolk County Health Department is monitoring new outbreaks of COVID-19 at a polling site in Southampton and Shoreham-Wading River School District. Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone says over 40 residents are under quarantine due to the outbreak at the Southampton polling site. The second outbreak was caused by a 32-person gathering within the Shoreham-Wading River School District, causing 3 residents to contract COVID-19 and an additional 161 to quarantine. The school made the decision to go fully virtual as many teachers are now required to quarantine. Ballone reminds Long Islanders to follow safety precautions and to stay persistent in combating the spread of COVID-19. Between the 2 outbreaks, over 200 people are under quarantine.
A formerly covered home with a lot of graffiti of a North Patchogue Community Club could have a date with a wrecking ball later this month. On October 22nd, the town board voted unanimously to have the structure torn down within 30 days unless someone comes forward to repair it. Attempts to reach 4 club owners have been unsuccessful, and a civic group even tried to donate the land to the town, but failed to who would hold the title to that property. The county could even seize the property due to taxes that haven't been paid in several years. Joe Montco, who lived near the property, spoke to her former neighbors and said on their behalf that the community itself has no sentimental attachment to the building and wouldn't mind if the building was taken down entirely.
A sophomore at Mount Sinai High School has collected 1,100 bags of clothing, toys, and school supplies for people in need during the COVID-19 pandemic. Devin Boreski says to spread the word, she posted on social media and visited donors' homes to pick up the donated items. In addition to this, Boreski collected around 40 Halloween costumes that were given to the children through the nonprofit Give Kids Hope in Port Jefferson. Boreski says, quote, "I just want people to know they're going to get what they need to be happy."
California has passed a new ballot measure which allows companies such as Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash to classify members of their labor force as independent contractors rather than employees. The measure cuts benefits such as insurance or unemployment paid by the companies. This comes after Proposition 22 passed at Golden State on Tuesday, providing a, quote, minimum earnings standard and healthcare benefits which outstretch the coverage full-time employees will receive at other companies. According to Reuters, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut are among several states pushing similar legislation.
That'll do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU News team. Our engineer this evening is Andrew Murdolo.
And we thank you for listening to Newsline, only here on your 3-time Marconi Award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
For Newsline, I'm Tony Genualdo.
And I'm Derek Futterman.
Thanks for listening and have a great night.